Hey everyone, welcome back to CryptoCache. Thank you so much for joining me here today. We're taking another look at Loopring. Covered this a few weeks ago, I believe, and it's taken off again. It has a tendency of pumping really hard. And we're going to look at the patterns here, of course, today with a technical analysis. If you're new to the channel, not a financial advisor, or just have over 15 years of trading experience, my goal is to help you become more of an effective trader. I have a trading community. Check that out in your own time. It's referred to as CryptoCache Premium. I have a descriptive video in the description below if you'd like to check that out. See if it's a good fit for you. I basically send out signals for every single trade that I take and average between 80-85% success overall. Really awesome experience. Check that out in your own time. Now, moving forward here with Bitcoin, something to note, we have a falling wedge pattern, descending wedge pattern, but it's bullish, right? So anytime we see that kind of pattern forming, and just to kind of clarify, it looks like this right here. I like to bring this representation up here. We got the up, down, and it eventually breaks out to the upside. So there's a strong chance we're going to see something like that here soon. I feel like we might see a bounce off of 58 or 60,000, or perhaps it'll break out in the near future as well. But I feel, based on the 4-hour chart, that we still have somewhat of a retracement in place. In other words, we're going to probably see the price continue to come down. It's failing to make higher highs, and in turn, we might see the price continue to progress downward, at least to test 58,000 once more, or to eventually bounce off the 200-day simple moving average, whichever comes first. But bear in mind, the 50-day simple moving average is working as a rejection. Essentially, it's rejecting the price, making it stay low, and essentially no longer, it can't seem to pass this point here. It's a strong resistance at about 61,000. Yeah, so that's kind of what Bitcoin's looking at right now. Just a quick little overview there. I think a breakout to the upside is inevitable. It's just a matter of how soon. We may see it retraced down as low as 58 to 55,000. Taking a look here at Loopring, I want to kind of bring this to your attention too, because not a lot of people know the true potential of this thing. So back in 2018, coincidentally, coming up here in another month or two, we saw a massive increase. So look at this, January of 2018, we saw a price hike all the way up to about $2.80. Basically, the 1-day candlestick resistance is $2.22. That's pretty significant considering we're in the 40 to 50 cent range right now. But look at this here. Interesting enough, we have a massive pump on October 30th, exactly 4 years from 4 years from this Saturday, essentially. It had a massive pump, went sideways, and progressed to the upside. That was concurrent with Bitcoin's cycle, right? We take a look at the price where it's at right now. Look at this, October 28th, we see a massive increase. There could be a sideways action followed by an increase, a slow progression upside. So I think the long-term potential here, big picture, is very significant. So just know that Loopring has tremendous potential, okay? Also note, price is above both moving averages. That's fantastic. We like to see that. And it got rejected out at the 50, so we're now back above 50 and essentially below the 70, right? So for RSI, it's a very good shape to have the price over 50 and under 70. I like to see that. It'll just allow for a nice continuation to the upside. We had a convergence here, kind of an ugly one, so to speak, just yesterday. So obviously the price ramped up here today. That's pretty standard in this kind of environment. So really nothing much to note there. One thing we want to also note here, though, is the pretty significant resistance level. We take a look here. The price got stopped out. Pretty standard right there, right at about 55 cents. So 55, 56 cents, plus or minus a little bit. You're looking at a pretty strong resistance zone. Okay. So why don't we go ahead and draw this as well. We'll draw two resistance lines because obviously today the price got stopped out right at 60 cents. So between 56 and 60 is a resistance channel. Okay. Obviously, it just spent a lot of time there and never quite closed above. So it's just something to be aware of. You want to respect that. Furthermore, we have a pretty solid support level here, right at around 35 cents. So 35 cents is a support level. So not bad. I think this is looking very good. Now, people will ask me a lot, because I got a lot of requests for this here recently, is it going to break to the upside right away? My hope is no, because I want to see it have that slow progressive growth and then eventually break out. Right now, with it kind of ramping up the way that it is, if you look at this history, it has a tendency of going sideways after a strong increase and then eventually retracing. Okay, pretty much happens all the time, right? So this one here came up, retraced, eventually ramped up. That's all well and good, but you can tell that it retraced initially. So my speculation here, just in general, is the fact that we'll probably see some type of correction tomorrow, the day after, and then a leg up at that point to try to break this resistance channel between, 57 and 60 cents. Okay. So just keep that in mind. There's a chance that the one-day candlestick could close above these two still. I mean, there's about an hour left in the trading cycle, but with the one-day candlestick likely closing below that resistance level, we should expect a correction and then followed by an increase. Okay. That is essentially where we're at. Now, again, that's not a guarantee, right? Because I get a lot of questions like, hey, like, what's the certainty of this happening? Well, there's no guarantees in crypto or trading, but, history has a tendency of repeating itself, right? And that happens more often than not in crypto. So, there's a strong chance it'll continue to just perform the same as it has before. So let's take a quick look at the cloud. We're probably well above the cloud, of course, makes perfect sense. We had a buy signal right here. Now, what's cool, though, is the price does retrace back down. We just say we get held down by this resistance level. It should, and effectively well, bounce off of this support channel created by the Ishimoku cloud and continue to progress to the upside. Okay. So just keep in mind, there's some pretty good stuff there. We can also look here as well. The price is above both conversions lines, but I think we're soon to see this rejection from the resistance create that downswing, so to speak. So I think there's a strong chance we'll see some continuation to the side and maybe a retracement, but we'll see soon. Now, keep this in mind. This is overextended. And here's the reason why it's coming back down. That standard deviation is too high. So in other words, the price is way higher than the average volume of the last 24 hours. So that's what the VWAP will tell you if you ever look at the volume weighted average price. Or obviously the volume profile range here essentially tells us there's a strong support level down below. What I'm getting at here is that if we look at TD sequential, we can see that we should have seen a retracement here right when the price broke above the cloud, but instead it continued upwards, right? So instead of retracing going sideways, which it should have done, it added another extra 35% increase growth in approximately 12 hours. That's a pretty significant increase. So just keep this in mind, when you have something like this, and the price is retracing and coming back down, there's a good chance we might see at least another 9 to 12 hours of continuation to the downside based on the fact that it ramped up a little further than it should have, right? It got too big for its britches, if you will. I don't know, it just got put in its place. It has to. That's why Loopring continues to perform the same way as it does in the past, because it has that history of going, well outside of its means and then correcting itself. So to me, I think we're going to kind of average somewhere around 50%, possibly a little higher based on the Ishimoku cloud. One thing to note here, and let's take a quick look at the Fibonacci, just kind of see roughly where we're at here now for support and resistance levels. So 50%, I would say right around 48 cents should be a likely retracement. And then it will either bounce off 48 cents, or it'll bounce off of 51 cents. So pay attention to 51 and 48. That's a nice little support channel there. So again, we got this resistance channel between 56 and 60, and a support channel between 48 and essentially 50 cents, or 51. 48 and 51, 56 and 60. So we'll see where it spends the most amount of time. It'll likely consolidate in one of those two channels and then break to the upside. I'm fairly confident that we're going to see the price retrace back down, either stay right here or retrace down and eventually stay right there. And then it'll leg up to test its resistance and break eventually soon. Again, this is pending Bitcoin doing decent, right? We saw this correction here recently based on the fact that, Bitcoin sold off from what went from 62,000 to 58,000 and then back up to 61 in a matter of minutes. So there's obviously some manipulation that occurred here today as they tried to drive the price down further and couldn't. I think 60 is becoming a pretty strong support level. So I would venture to guess that adding to your position around between 58 and 60,000 is a strong consideration for Bitcoin. In fact, I'm going to take a long position as soon as the price comes down to 60,000. I'm fairly confident of that. Either way, that's all I have here for LRC. Oh, you know what? Let's summarize here, because I do get questions on predictions and where's the price going to go, right? So again, I feel like we're going to see some consolidation and retracement first. So say it consolidates and retraces a little bit. We need to understand though too that once it starts to ramp up, its better case scenario, I would say in the next month or maybe 2 to 4 weeks, is right in the range of about 87 cents. So this very well could pump over the next couple of weeks for another 50% to get up to about 87. Right? But that's more so the highest point we're going to see according to Fibonacci retracement if it continues on the same path that it's in right now in the very near future. I would say big picture long term, keep this in mind. January, again, you've got to look at this here. January for LRC was massive, right? And this is right when Bitcoin was taken off. It was basically 50. It was increasing 50% growth every month. And that's what happens on the 4-year cycle, by the way. Do your own research on that. I actually have a video on that. But if you look here in January, it ramped up and went crazy. So my speculation is that LRC likely in January or February, depending on how soon altcoin season takes off, we're going to see LRC up in the range of somewhere in the range of about $1.80 to $2.80, somewhere between there. So if you think about it, price is right now at about 55 cents, and just say it gets up to $2. You're almost at 4x at that point, right? So it's like 3.5x, somewhere in that range. That's a pretty solid return on investment. So I think Loopring has much more potential than previous ones. Granted, we haven't broken any all-time highs here recently, and it doesn't necessarily guarantee the fact that we're going to see this happen again in the future, but it is positioning itself to kind of shape up in that sense, right? So I think all in all, it should have great potential here, and we're going to be able to see some good things from LRC. So we'll just go ahead and see you in the next video. Thank you so much for your time here. Really appreciate you making it this far. Obviously, check out my community if you'd like to check that out. If it's something you're interested in. If not, that's cool too. Like and subscribe if you haven't. Thanks again for joining me here. We'll see you in the next video. Take care.